moving on, I wanted to talk about the eclipse more and what it used to mean to people, or what it still means to people in Africa. So in general, we're going to do the no-no. We're going to generalize for all of Africa and say that if you want to generalize the sun is usually male, reliable, hardworking, smart, and honest, associated with kings and chiefs. And celebrations, people who are reverent of the sun celebrate with the kingdom or chiefdom at the important times for the sun, such as the solstices. So for eclipses, we have Shaka Zulu, which I'll discuss later, and it's a time for reconciliation among the Bata Malemba or Bata Marimba people of Togo and Benin. They're the ones that are up in the north. And when they see an eclipse, they know that the sun and moon are fighting. And so they tell them to stop fighting, and then if they have any fights going on in the village with other people, that's the time when they reconcile, because they want everything to be peaceful again. And in general, eclipses were bad things. But eclipses are also used to date historical events, just like using archaeoastronomy alignments to date buildings. So here's an example from Angola. This is a document from I think it's 64. And we have here, this paper was trying to do the chronology of kings in Angola from oral history. And this particular king, the author notes that there were 2 solar eclipses during his reign. And of course, if solar eclipses are perceived as being bad, his kingship was perceived as being bad. And the author says that, basically they think that the eclipses are the cause for why he had such a short reign, that he was eventually disposed. So when I talk to my physicist, they have a hard time understanding how sky knowledge can translate to political things. And this is an example. Like, the king is associated with the sun. The sun is eclipsed twice. He's got to go. So eclipses yesterday and today. So Shaka Zulu was also a sun king. And in the 1840s, there was an eclipse. And he said, basically, see my power. I'm going to bring the sun back, right? And of course, the sun comes back, and everyone's like, of course, he controls the sun. But it was during the same eclipse that the Ngoni people crossed the Zambezi River to escape his kingdom. So so they revere the eclipse as being an eclipse leading to their freedom, even though Shaka Zulu was on the other side of the river saying, reestablishing his power. So in 2001, we had the eclipse that, again, was in the same region, and the Ngoni people crossed the river again in 2001 during that solar eclipse to recreate their escape from Shaka Zulu. So here we are at the Ghana Eclipse Conference. It's the first conference of its kind focused solely on the astronomy and culture of Africans. Our goals are to re-examine the theories and methods that I've shown you, to educate students in how to do research in this area, to bring African cultural astronomy into K-12 classrooms around the world, and to determine the future of this unique field of research. Focusing on the last one, I don't know why it's blinking. This is a slide that's basically my network. There's no particular reason that I'm at the center other than that I'm at the center. And then these are all the people who have influenced me. And I've met every one of them. I even met Yusuf Sese in Paris 2 years ago and talked to him about astronomy and culture. And most of these people have done some seminal work on astronomy and culture during the last 30 years. And then I am currently working with all these people in Africa. Now, what do you see down here? You see British and American. Then you see African American. And then you see African. So this is a big change in African cultural astronomy research, where we're starting to be dominated by African researchers, which is the way it should have been from the beginning. So this is a nice diagram. It shows how to get from Polaris to the Southern Cross. So it's kind of a mapping of the sky for direction. So our long and short-term goals are collaborations, conferences and workshops like this, courses and lesson plans, student research projects, articles, books, and journals, preservation, and finding funding sources for our research. African cultural astronomy education. Do we need a degree program in Africa? Or do we establish student exchanges? We have two programs where you can get a degree in cultural astronomy. One is run by Nick at Bath University in the United Kingdom, and the other is run by Clive Ruggles, we're still trying to find him. He's supposed to be here, but he's not here yet. He's still at Mabel's trying to get a ride. At Leicester, it's pronounced Leicester, isn't it? Leicester University, also in the United Kingdom. So those are where you can get your PhDs in cultural astronomy and astrology and archaeoastronomy and cultural astronomy. So looking at the publications, do we need our own journal? Here's where, I think this is about the 271 articles, the same ones that are in the first slide I showed you. This is where they're published. By far they're published in the Journal of Cultural Astronomy called Archaeoastronomy. But this spike is all about Egypt, right? It really doesn't capture the rest of Africa. Mostly it's Egypt with a few on North Africa. So that's your options. So we have to decide, are we going to continue to publish here or if we're going to start our own journal? Then we have the UNESCO initiative, Astronomy and World Heritage. 2009 is the UNESCO, or the United Nations Year of Astronomy. And there's the initiative Astronomy and World Heritage, where they want to identify sites around the world that have to do with astronomy, broadly defined, which includes cultural astronomy, to be designated as World Heritage sites and preserved for all time. So we hope that through this conference we can start identifying some of those sites and present them to UNESCO, and hopefully they will eventually become World Heritage sites.